Welcome into the Jordy Culotta Show. Wave your hand out there, baby!
Shout out to the show.
She puts the pinky into the nostril. Man, look at that.
Healthy competition, there's nothing like it.
Y'all grow up.
The line's wrapped around the stadium.
Different strengths. I just lost a tooth.
It's going to be fun.
You know, we might have a story.
I love what you're doing.
Ogeron wants to take us fishing this afternoon.
Sharif, you play for the bad boys of the SEC, man. We don't apologize to anybody.
A lot of people are saying you're going to be wearing number 7.
I don't really know. I want to.
He look crazy, Bill. Good feet on the old man.
Definitely come back.
We'll be right back with the Jordy Culotta Show. All right, welcome into a Thursday edition of the Jordy Culotta Show. As always, built by our friends over at RMB Builders, Ret Bourgeois. Remember, you can find RMB on Instagram. Hit them there. You can always find them online at rmb-builders.com. Phone line always brought to you by our friends at Metropolitan Health Group, Real Doctors, Real Solutions, Charlie Harvey, and Jason Ramazan. Stop in and see our guys today over at Metropolitan Health Group. On our phone line today, we will talk to Jackson Fager, who is the executive director of Algiers America. And if you saw it, it wrapped up 2 nights ago with its final episode, dropping Aaron Anderson off was Bryce Brown to the University of Alabama. A lot of storylines have changed since then, but it was an incredible documentary and an incredible 5-part series that ran on Hulu over the last couple of weeks. And we'll talk to Jackson coming up here at around 8:30 this morning. Really looking forward to that conversation just about that project. Jackson is a really interesting guy, as well as he is. He's not from here. He married a South Louisiana girl, actually a Baton Rouge girl.
Undefeated.
And he actually was the head of Vice's news department in Asia for a couple of years, and was over there living for 3 years. His wife was diagnosed with cancer. While she was diagnosed with cancer, they had their first child on the way. It was a crazy time in life. She just wanted to go home, and they came and settled in New Orleans. And Jackson is a very talented storyteller, an incredible someone who is just out there creating content and news directing and putting together things like we saw over the last couple of weeks on Hulu with Algiers America. They live in New Orleans now. His wife is in remission, and Tori Williams is her maiden name from Baton Rouge, and they now are married and have a really cool life in New Orleans. So looking forward to talking to Jackson coming up here at 8:30 this morning.
He seems like New Orleans.
He is. He does seem like it, and it's crazy that he's not from there, but he does fit in very, very well with the locals down in New Orleans. And we'll talk to him about the project. As he spent 2 years with Edna Carr, it was a hell of a 2-year time in the program, as Carr had been to 7 straight state titles. And in that 2-year run of the documentary, they were knocked out in the semifinals both seasons. It was a sad story on the field, but was an incredible overall dive into life on the West Bank of New Orleans. I mean, you really feel like you get an idea of just the true struggle and pressures that come along with living in that area of our state. And they did a beautiful job of, I thought, telling the story. And it'll be cool to catch up with him at 8:30 this morning. Chris Blair will be here at 8:15. We'll begin to preview LSU Mississippi State. We'll get Blair's thoughts of Auburn last weekend before moving on, as the LSU baseball team looking to bounce back in SEC play after falling to Auburn for the first time in conference. They drop a weekend series, so they're looking to get back and get right here on this SEC weekend. That'll be in Baton Rouge. No Katie this morning as she's a little under the weather. So Lloyd is here, Stewie is here, and as we said, Blair will be in studio with us at 8:15 this morning. Jacques had a really good sit down with Brian Kelly earlier this week. I thought Michael Cobble over at WBRZ had a really good interview with Kelly on WBRZ earlier this week. Excuse me. And I saw Scott Alexander down in New Orleans had some time with BK, and we'll get our shot this morning to sit down with the LSU head football coach. We did have to move Coach Mulkey's conversation, so we won't have her extended cut today, but we will have some time with Brian Kelly, and really looking forward to it. I thought Jacques did a great job of asking a lot of meaningful questions and getting some really good information out of him. So we might have to ask a couple of some repeat stuff, but we'll try and find some different angles with Coach Kelly on his short time here at LSU, and we'll be over there at around 11:30 this morning, and we'll do some post-production to the product once we get it back to studio, and then as soon as we can, we'll have it up and out to you over here at the Jordy Culotta Show. You'll be able to keep up with it on social media. So if you want to know when it drops, just make sure you're following us on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, wherever you're at on social media. You can find us at Culotta Show. So make sure and catch up with what we're doing there. So we'll talk to Chris Blair about LSU getting back going coming up here in a little bit. Tell me what you're thinking about with Brian Kelly. If there's anything that you're curious about that you may be looking for some answers to, shoot them over. And if they're good enough, we'll take them over to Coach Kelly with some listener questions as we wrap up the interview today. Probably have about 20 to 30 minutes with Coach, as I've seen some of these interviews is the way they've rolled. So we'll have a good amount of time to sit and catch up and be our first chance to talk to Coach Brian Kelly as he's been down here at LSU. Anything you're curious about?
I'm excited to get a little different perspective from him because obviously he's been going through the car wash. So I think your interview style will maybe open him up a little bit. And he's been very open, I think, as opposed to last year. But he's hit on some of the main points. I'm more excited to see what you can pull from him to see if we can get a little bit of, just a different perspective from the coach. Because, like I said, when he first came here, I think we all thought he was a little rigid. And then now he's opened up, and I feel like you'll be able to kind of pull, extract a little bit more info and even wear him down a little bit more.
Yeah. Look forward to talking.
Because he's answered about the quarterbacks. He did all that with Jock. So like the pressing questions, I still think are there, and some of the things that we want to know, he probably is still going to give the PC answer, with Emory and stuff like that. But other than that, I'm just interested to see what you can do. This is where you shine, Coach.
I appreciate that.
Yeah.
We mentioned the news yesterday that Gordon McKernan had inked another player in Garrett Nussmeier. I thought one thing that Coach Kelly did shed some light on in his sit-down with Jacques was the thought of where Nussmeier sits right now with the program going into what would be his second season of eligibility, right? He's been here 3 years, but he wore a red shirt his freshman season, so he's actually going to have 3 years of eligibility remaining, 2 after this one, which they talked about a little bit in that interview with Jacques about how, look, Garrett Nussmeier recognizes that LSU gives him a great opportunity to be, as successful as you probably can be in college football when you think about the team next year. Third year starting tackles that have already played at an all SEC level coming off of their freshman season, another year of experience for them. Some of these young wide receivers that are in the program will be a little more mature. You'll have some of these young offensive linemen that they've recruited, some of these young defensive stars that are in the program now. I mean, the future of LSU football looks very bright. They need to continue to add to the numbers and continue to build the depth, right? I think Amos was a miss this week. They would have loved to, continue to add some depth at the defensive backfield. A loss to Alabama in the transfer portal out of Lafayette, but I still think that there is work to be done at key positions like defensive back on getting depth and getting deep, defensive line, building that rotation where you can still be fresh in the third and fourth quarter, still have guys that have fresh legs, late in the season that, because of your rotation and because of the number of guys that you're being able to play and develop and get out on the field, that your team's able to stay a little bit more fresh late into the year. I mean, LSU is as well conditioned as I've ever seen them. I can never recall a team that was as in good of shape from the start of the year to the end of the year. I mean, think how many times LSU was the better team in the third and fourth quarter. I mean, how many times
especially with how thin they were.
Right. I mean, with the lack of numbers that they had. I mean, if there was one thing that has been very evident in year one is the attention to players, I guess, safety, or just trying to keep them healthy, as much as possible, whether it's light loaded practices or the emphasis on weightlifting and nutrition at certain points. The new facility that we were talking to Bo Lowry about, and we'll talk to Coach Kelly about it more in a little bit more depth, is interesting to see what it promotes, right? It promotes recovery, it promotes stretching, it promotes flexibility, it promotes sleep habits. It's just really kind of a lot of the ancillary stuff of being a productive player. I'm looking forward to asking him how that part has changed. Not even since he's been in the game for plus 30 years, just really kind of over the last decade, how much that has changed. So we're really looking forward to sitting down with Coach Kelly this morning.
Have they replaced Bo Lowry?
I don't know if they have.
It's probably internal.
I think that there was, there was a big push internally.
Because that's his biggest competition. It's either Nick Saban or Sean Payton. Jesus, he took Jamar Cain and he takes Bo Lowry. Just pilfering it's funny that he doesn't go to the Saints. He goes to LSU to get the people that he wants. Shows you what the kind of the power player in the state as of the moment.
So it'll be interesting. We're looking forward to getting over there. Speaking of the Saints, some Saints news yesterday. How about Foster Moreau signing a 3-year deal, guaranteed cash with the New Orleans Saints? Good for Foster, man, as Foster was coming off of a cancer diagnosis earlier this offseason from actually New Orleans when he made his free agent stop in New Orleans. The medical staff alerted Moreau and his representatives that, look, they need to follow up. He's got some signs of Hodgkin lymphoma, and come to find out it was confirmed, and sent the meeting in a totally different direction. I mean, at one point you're talking about the probability of joining a franchise and playing football. The next, you're talking about fighting for your life. And it seems as if this was caught at the right time. It seems that it was caught early enough where Foster has a really good chance of beating it. Now, obviously, this is cancer, so you can never speak in any type of guarantee or any type of permanent that it'll be completely gone. But you can just pray and hope that it gets taken care of. But the news yesterday was really good for Foster Moreau, as he had come to terms with the New Orleans Saints on a 3-year deal, with the deal being reportedly worth $12 million, with 8 of it being guaranteed. Moreau, as we said, was diagnosed by the Saints staff back in March. He has since had positive results after treatment and plans to play this season. This is according to ESPN, as ESPN reported this yesterday. Moreau has the go-ahead to return to football next week. The Saints will begin their OTA sessions on May 23rd. It is unclear how much he will participate, but he has been cleared to go. So good story there for Foster Moreau, a former LSU Tiger, a former guy that wore number 18 in the program, and someone who has started his professional career off as a 4th-round selection back in 2019 with a pretty solid run. I mean, if you watched Las Vegas under the direction of John Gruden, Foster Moreau was somebody that, they were really trying to utilize within the offense. He was a safety blanket for Carr. They had good chemistry, and over the first couple of years of his professional career, he looked like a pro that was going to stick. He was going to be a guy that was going to make a career out of football. He was another one of those from LSU standpoint. Last guy signed in the class, 25th scholarship signed for LSU in that recruiting class, right? And turns out to be a really, really good player for the program, a good leader, solid leader, ends up wearing number 18 and drafted into the NFL and, signing his second contract and coming home. He played at Jesuit High School. He played at LSU from 2015 through 2018, as we said. He was a fourth-round selection back in 2019, and now he's home. So it's a really positive story for one that had some dark times and some dark clouds hanging over it, and still you're not out of it completely. But, with the news yesterday that he'll be cleared to return to OTAs and has an expectation of playing this season, man, that's as good as it can be. That's as good as it can be.
Talk about being – LSU has obviously had a tight end problem for quite a while, and I don't think that was Foster Moreau's fault when he's got enough talent to make it in the NFL and get a second contract, and you never really got to see him thrive at LSU. But he gets to be reunited with Carr, who obviously I would imagine made a push to sign him again.
Yeah.
So I think LSU, the Saints had a need at that position. You get a guy that's, like you hit on, is from here, understands the culture, probably love to be back, and now you get a kind of a tandem little duo with Carr and Moreau and being reunited a little bit.
Yeah, no, I think this is a very positive sign, man, obviously, for the Saints. Another good locker room addition, which there's always been an emphasis on from New Orleans standpoint, adding Moreau to the room, as, the locals know. If you wear number 18, that comes with a lot of respect in the locker room. Not only is it, the former guys that have worn the number, but, it's your peers. It's the guys that are around you every single day. It's the guys that you're going to the weight room with. It's the guys you're going through off season with. I mean, for somebody to get that responsibility at LSU says a lot about who they are. So it's cool to see Foster Moreau inking that deal. And as we said, up to $12 million could be the deal if everything is hit, the incentives, and the contract is taken to its life. But $8 million of it guaranteed. And after the news that Moreau heard in March, man, that is such a cool story for him and his family. So congratulations to the big fella who is back home. This was crazy. As we told you, we saw LaDasia Williams, the information of the former LSU standout and national champ here just a couple of weeks ago. LaDasia Williams was waived by the Indiana Fever. A day later, former LSU star Alexis Morris was waived by the Connecticut Sun after being drafted by the organization last month. As we all know, she's off of a career year here in Baton Rouge, propelling LSU to a national championship. She averaged 15-4. She was one of the catalysts on the team. But some news yesterday, which, again, very surprising to me. And I don't know the intricacies of the WNBA, but I just didn't know that there was. I mean, are there that many women basketball players in the country, in the world, that Alexis Morris can't get a spot?
She played in a game. They waived her.
I mean, what do they do? Who? How?
First round pick.
How? I mean, there's 2 point guards better than her. First off, on the Connecticut Sun. Second off, in the league. I guess she'll have to clear waivers and then hopefully get picked up, but. I was shocked to see those two names come across the waiver wire. LaDasia Williams, I was like, say what? And then Alexis Morris, you're like,
say what?
Wait, huh?
What's going on?
How does this happen? I mean, I'm asking as an ignorant fan, are there that many women players in the world that Alexis Morris can't get a spot? No way, right?
And I don't know if they were just riding the wave of maybe teams got caught up in the LSU run and they're like, oh, we saw these people in the spotlight, maybe we should take a chance on them. But if you're going to use a first-round pick, like LaDeja's second-round pick, right? So you could see how that could go either way. But a first-round pick in the WNBA, I think she went like 17th overall for Alexis Morris.
No, she was a second round, but that's a second round pick because there's only 12 teams.
Oh, okay. Okay, but well, still.
Right.
You feel like you're drafting a player that obviously she got a run in her first game, and then to get waived essentially after the first
just someone
game.
who can score and handle the ball like
She's
that?
a pro.
I mean,
And I would imagine if there's any like test case for what you should do, if you should go to the league or not, she had one more year to come back to LSU. This is what you will probably see teams not or players not take a chance on going to the league and just stay at LSU, where Alexis Morris could have signed a deal.
oh, I mean, I imagine she left a deal,
Exactly.
right? I mean, was it Alexis Morris was Gordon's first client?
Yeah,
I mean,
his
that was
first
his
women's
first-
basketball.
No, I think it was
just
her
first
first
overall.
client.
Wow. And
I
so
mean-
she might have left money on the table.
That's what I'm saying.
And so if you look at an Angel Reese, if you look at a Van Lith, if you look at any of the prospective LSU women's basketball players that are coming up and have a chance to go to the league, stay all 4 years. Stay 5 if you can. She had a COVID year.
You gave another bullet to a recruiting team
Pitch.
of Kim Mulkey and her staff that is the best in the country. I mean, really, Alexis Morris and possibly LaDeja Williams, or I guess she didn't have another year. She
Right.
had to go. But Alexis Morris, for sure, will become a cautionary tale and a recruiting pitch from LSU in the sense of, hey, look, if you have any doubt that you're not going to be a first-round selection or there's a possibility that, you may be a second-round pick and you're going to have to fight for your job even through, after training camp and after making the team, just come back to school and make possibly more money and make money that's not going to stop, right? I mean, what if you get cut or waived like Alexis Morris did 3 weeks into the season, and she's looking back on an NIL deal that she left behind where there's money that she could be pocketing. So very surprising. Maybe it's regular. I see some people talking about Duron Tross says that overseas is that a lot of them go overseas and play. Andrew Messina says they'll make more money overseas. Duron Tross says 12 teams and those girls can play. He was confirming she was not a first-round pick.
Right.
Tross also said overseas is not safe. So it's, look, I'm sure there's debate. I mean, even the Brittany Griner situation, that's what she was doing. She was going to Russia to go play on her team. And, they picked her up, obviously, in the airport. But it does come with, it comes with, some liberties that you lose when you go internationally and play. So I guarantee, look, this is a debate that is made inside of basketball locker rooms. I can imagine all the time of what is the play? What are you going to do? And it's surprising to see Alexis Morris.
Yeah, she went on Instagram Live yesterday, and she was kind of answering questions about what she was going to do, and she said she's going to head back home. Obviously, she's from Beaumont, but I don't know if home is now Baton Rouge, and she was hoping to work with select teams, kind of get into coaching maybe. But I think she's too talented to not give it another go at some form of.
And she's too young, right, to just stop here.
Hang it
look,
up.
maybe that's just where she is in the life of her basketball career, and we got no business telling her when and how to handle that, but it just seems like she's got a lot of game left for sure.
And they were spotlighting her. If you looked at their social media, she was everywhere. They were highlight. That's why I thought she was a first-round pick because of all of the social media run she was getting. But I don't know how the WNBA works either. I'm ignorant to that fact as well. But it just from what I saw, all you have to do is turn on the national championship game where she's chasing Caitlin Clark around and being a nuisance, and then is able to still have the stamina to give you 18 in the second half.
Yeah, no doubt.
That's all you need to see.
Just turn on the South Carolina film.
She's an engine. She's what you want in a point guard in every asset. She can score it, she can play defense, and she's able to kind of be like I said, the engine of the team where she's a personality.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that maybe she didn't jive. I don't know. She's obviously had her troubles in the past, bouncing around. But if you can play for Kim Mulkey and get right, you can play for anybody.
I agree. And I mean, just not only that. I mean, her story with Mulkey alone. Like I said, I can't say it enough. Just how surprised I was to see that she was waived a day after LaDasia Williams was waived. But speaking of basketball and LSU basketball, we wrapped up LSU's basketball recruiting class yesterday as we talked about the 2023 class of high schoolers and transfer portal guys that are coming in. And from a name standpoint, you got a lot of solid players in there, guys that have played high level and even SEC basketball. You lack a little bit of star power, right? I mean, we talked about Jalen Cook maybe being the star of the class because of how he could score it at Tulane. You wonder if that'll translate, coming back over for another run at LSU, or trying to make another run here in the SEC. And Matt McMahon's going into year 2. And some of the things that we talked about that are challenging for LSU men's basketball, we've talked about the internal stuff. An announcement yesterday was something that we talked about a couple of weeks ago when Will Wade was announced as McNeese head basketball coach. There'll now be some billboards in Baton Rouge with Wade wearing McNeese colors and promoting the McNeese boys basketball camps, or the boys and girls basketball camps that will run kindergarten through 9th grade coming up in June. And Wade is going to have some digital billboards around town. And, this is just kind of one of those things that we were talking about when Wade was hired. That's going to be a crawl, in the office, in the program. And, I remember when we talked about the segment and people were thinking that I was saying that Wade is going to compete with LSU basketball over players, and that they're going to, run a more competitive program at a high level than LSU. I don't believe that. I'm not saying that. I know that there are classes to this thing, but I'm just saying things like this that you've got to deal with as the LSU's head coach when, the former coach who, would win a popularity contest if you had one, or, would win a vote if it was out there, with him on billboards in town just kind of over your shoulder, right? I mean, does it really affect you? Probably not. Does it aggravate you? Probably so. You know what I mean? Like, it's just
want to see your ex all around town.
Yeah, it's just like, damn. I mean, everywhere you go, I mean, you're trying to push a new message. You're trying to bring in new players. You're trying to, start a new program. And, I mean, the guy that, you really had kind of set the bar is just lingering, I mean, so it just, the announcement yesterday just kind of made me think.
They're already up. I already saw one around town, I think, like 2 days ago. But do you think he had, like, some outstanding deal, like, time left with, like, Lamar or whoever runs those digital ads?
No, I just think that's McNeese.
Just has a relationship with him?
Yeah, I mean, Lamar's not turning down money.
Right.
I mean,
and they, like I said, they still had a working, he didn't do anything to them.
If McNeese wants to spend money, they can promote anything you want. I mean, being that it's in the guidelines, but I mean, this makes sense. I mean, he's got
such a Will Wade play.
He's got presence.
Yeah,
I mean,
you know who he is.
Yeah, I mean, he's got people are going to talk about it. I mean, I guarantee you, more kids from Baton Rouge go to the McNeese basketball camp than they've ever had.
100%.
Remember, Daily, we're brought to you by Premier South Roofing and Sheet Metal. Get in touch with Premier South Roofing and Sheet Metal by logging online at premiersouthla.com. premiersouthla.com. And no matter the listening area, we remind you all the time, whether you're here in Baton Rouge, whether you're on the North Shore, whether you're in New Orleans, in Lafayette, premiersouthla.com. They are Louisiana's premier roofing experts in quality and in service. Whether you're looking for residential roofing, commercial roofing, metal roofing, get in touch with Premier South Roofing today. If your roof is 8 years or older, odds are you qualify for a brand new roof. You definitely qualify for an inspection from the pros over at Premier. Let them jump up on the roof today and find out if you have any leaks from the rain. And I know that there was some heavy rain that came through over the last couple of days, maybe some wind damage, maybe some hail damage, find out and let Premier South work with your insurance company. And if you do have a leak, they'll get that tarped up for you today. A professionally tarped roof by our friends over at Premier South Roofing and Sheet Metal. Get in touch with them online, premiersouthlA.com. premiersouthlA.com is where you find them online. No matter the listening area, Baton Rouge, Lafayette, North Shore, New Orleans, coming soon to Daphne and Fairhope, Alabama. Premier South Roofing and Sheet Metal. Jordy Culotta Show rolling on when we return. Built every day by RMB Builders.
Hey Baton Rouge, when traveling through Natchez, Mississippi, whether you need to fill up your vehicle or your belly, stop by Go-Mart and On The Go Deli. Go-Mart has clean restrooms, community coffee, an awesome beer cave, and a great selection of anything you might need on your trip. So stop by Go-Mart at 4 Sergeant Prentice Drive as you're entering Natchez on the left, and visit Tom and Wright Granning and their awesome team at Go-Mart.
Are you looking for sound financial advice? Then get in touch with Daniel Newman of Edward Jones. You can call him today at 225-261-8262 or email him daniel.newman@edwardjones.com. If you're planning for retirement, saving for college for children or grandchildren, or just looking for sound investment opportunities, get in touch with Daniel today, 225-261-8262, located on Magnolia Square Drive in Central. Daniel Newman of Edward Jones.
Don't let the name fool you. Men's Total Health has offerings for the ladies, too. Guys, is your wife or partner suffering from urinary incontinence, low sexual desire, or pain during sex? Then the O-Shot might be for her. Don't let it scare you. It's totally natural. It's PRP. And Mike Roach and the crew at Men's Total Health will make you as comfortable as you can be. Contact me for more information, Katie at jordyculotta.show.com, and I'm happy to tell you everything that Men's Total Health has to offer for the ladies.
Fourier Insurance Agency, established in 1946, locally can help you with any of your home, auto, commercial, contractors, life and health insurance today. Give them a call, 225-383-0682, or log online to FourierAgency.com.
Hey, she's on her way up.
Hey, G, I got you something.
Hey, Coach. What do you think? Is this too much?
If you look good, you play good.
All right, then. Let's get it done.
Do you need your roof checked or just ready to get a new roof? Premier South Roofing and Sheet Metal has helped over 10,000 customers with their roofs over the last 2 decades. Premier South employs over 300 team members in South Louisiana. They're accredited by the Better Business Bureau. They've been named in the top 100 roofers in the nation for a number of years. And Premier South has former insurance adjusters in-house whose job it is to help get all the insurance money you deserve. So go to premiersouthlA.com for Premier South Roofing and Sheet Metal and get your free inspection.
Premier South Roofing.
Exactly. I ain't never. Welcome back. Thursday edition Jordy Culotta Show, as always, built by our friend Rhett Bourgeois at RMB Builders, rmb-builders.com. You can find him on Instagram. That's the easiest way to find him. Lloyd and I were talking about it, and Stewie and I were talking about it before the show, the Bob Huggins situation up at West Virginia, as Huggins has been retained. I will say surprisingly, especially in just kind of where we are in 2023.
Does he sit on a stool to coach games?
He does, and he's always been he's always been someone who has not embraced the suit. Like, he was a tracksuit guy way before COVID. Way before COVID. He was wearing kind of like a windbreaking pullover. Kind of like when it was like
old school,
like 90s, bro.
Yeah,
like he was coaching Kenyon Martin in a pullover.
With the polo,
kind of like the V-neck.
Yeah, like the windbreaker.
Has the pockets right here.
Oh, he's wearing a T-shirt underneath there, Coach.
Oh, he's probably wearing a
Nothing.
wife beater.
Yeah.
Just sweating.
Oh, I mean, what's coming out of his pores can't be healthy.
I mean, the way that the slur just kind of rolled off in live radio. Kind of gives you an idea of what a basic conversation with Huggy Bear would sound like.
Where his mindset, he's still in 1980.
I will say this. At no point do I advocate what he said. When he said it and I heard it, I thought immediately, he's done. He's done. Right? I mean, the first sign of you knowing someone is in big trouble is them issuing a apology. Within an hour of this radio show, Huggins had issued an apology, right? And one kind of out there stating, the way I read it, he was expecting to get fired. You know what I mean? He was kind of like, look, I tell my players everything's got consequences and I'm ready to deal with whatever comes from this. I mean, it was kind of like he said, like, this is not going to end well. He's keeping his job. He's going to have to forfeit $1 million from his $4.2 million annual salary. He's going to face a 3-game suspension.
If Will Wade got 5?
Right. You're welcome.
Good. I didn't want to play those non-conference games anyway.
The salary reduction will go toward West Virginia's LGBTQ plus center, the Caruth Center, and other state and national organizations that support marginalized communities, the statement read. Huggins' multi-year contract has been amended and now will serve and be run on a year-by-year deal, so a 1-year deal that will expire each April. And the suspension of the next 3 games will be the first 3 games of next year, and he'll also have to make a significant donation to the University of Xavier, who the comments were aimed at.
I guess if you're West Virginia, there's a way you could spin it to where he almost got trapped a little bit.
And let me just say this, and let me be careful on how I say this, because as I said and as I stated, I'm very surprised that Bob Huggins still has his job. I thought right when he said that, he issued the apology kind of with the recognition of the axe it's about to get me. He's about to be guillotined, in the public. And the statement a day later, I will say this from West Virginia. In today's climate, we see everybody's first move being get rid of everyone, right? Like, separate yourself from the controversy. If they were to do that with Huggins, which, again, I expected them to do, you'll never hear from Bob Huggins probably ever again, right? I mean, unless you're real close to the situation or you're in and around the area that he lives. But, I mean, for someone like us who's listening to this podcast, we'll probably never hear Bob Huggins or hear from him again if he's fired from West Virginia and he just kind of goes out to the pasture, with the Jim Boeheims and the rest of the old guard. But if you're West Virginia, you say, or we can help you, or we can show you that you've made a massive mistake.
Educate you.
A mistake that has cost 98% of the people that have done this their career. Not their job, their career. Right? Like, you'll lose your job today. You won't get one tomorrow. So, or we can educate you, show you the effects of speaking so just, liberally, as if those words will not cut anyone, of just how effective you can be, especially in your position of, promoting these atmospheres and, encouraging these types of relationships to be accepted. Whatever the point and purpose of West Virginia's ruling was, I will say that when I did read it, I thought it was kind of refreshing in 2023 to support someone and say, "Hey, look, man, you screwed up, and you're gonna lose money. Your contract that gives you all of this job security and life security is now gone. You're playing a year-by-year contract, and you're going to let, the crowd that you affected, you're going to let them know that you understand that it was insensitive, that it was wrong to say, and it was wrong to say with the tone and the ease that you said it." And I got to say that I was surprised by West Virginia in the way that they handled it. It was a little unexpected, sure. But I thought when you kind of step back and take, kind of the situation in, it's a little different than what we've seen everybody else do with it. Everybody's first instinct on anything that is politically hot or temperamental is to run, get the hell out of here, scoop everything, forget about anything that's not plugged in, and get out of here. And in what we've seen the effects of that being, I understand. But it was also good to see that there's still room to say, "Hey, look, man," or person, whoever it is, that's a huge mistake. You can't speak like that. You can't speak like that, especially in that position where when you speak, a lot of people listen. So this is going to be the effects of you saying that, but they're going to keep you. And I'd imagine they heard from a lot of West Virginia fans that want to keep Bob Huggins. Bob Huggins, for as, abhorrent and, poor choice of wording he used earlier this week, he fits West Virginia just about as good as West Virginia can be fit. When you watch a West Virginia game, Huggins feels like the program, feels like the I've been there, and that place is wild, man. It's nuts.
Wildwoods of West Virginia.
It's nuts.
Boone County Maton Call. They're just probably a little antiquated over there. And the fact that, when you slap them with sensitivity training, and there's a world where Bob Huggins went in there, he's like, "I didn't know I couldn't say that." I don't understand. That would be his only.
If you're representing Bob, you say, "Bob, shut
up." Yeah, but I don't know how they had to go in there with every intention of firing him, and I don't know if this conversation, he was able to spin it in a way where "Oh, okay, I see where you're coming from," because there's no excuse for it, to where this was a handshake, get your bags and go.
Sure.
I don't want to hear from you. But the way that they've handled it is sensitivity training and $1 million, and there's just something else in the news cycle come up, and it'll be swept under the rug. And also, West Virginia, according to Jeff Goodman, has the #1 transfer portal class in the country. So coaching does matter.
Absolutely.
Winning matters. And if you're West Virginia, to have to go through that cycle all over again, that is probably the bigger issue.
They care a lot more about basketball there than we do here. So, it would be as if, not the football program, but it'd be like the baseball program. It would be, something that has a real life, passionate following.
It's the heartbeat.
And, saying the leader's done on, May 10th. Say what? How?
Because I think that's probably more what it is. West Virginia is just trying to save the program. And if Huggins is their answer, because you don't want to go find a new coach, You don't want all the players that you got in the portal that can't hit the portal now. I guess they would be stuck there for a year, or risk. I'd imagine they'd get a waiver, right? Like the NCAA would probably allow them to go find other places, but they don't want to rebuild the program. It's simple as that.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, that's up to West Virginia.
But for sure, the leash on Huggins was definitely tightened.
I don't think he'll be doing any radio hits anytime soon.
No. And for people that are saying that, I don't know if he knew he was live. Come on. I mean, I have been in those settings many a times. I mean, how many times do you think Bob Huggins has had a discussion on the phone with a ludicrous beat playing underneath it? You know, I mean, like, if you go back and listen to it, I mean, the whole time the segment's going on, I believe it's Southern Hospitality by Ludacris that is playing the whole time. I mean, Huggins can hear that on the phone. You know, I mean, at no point is he like, yo, what's going on with the music? I mean, he knows that.
A house party?
I mean, when that guy calls Huggins during that time slot, that guy's been hosting that position for over 40 years. Bob Huggins was the Cincinnati head coach for, you know, a long time, and he would go on that show regularly. You could tell they had a personal relationship. I mean, he knows that guy well enough that if I talk to him in the window of 3 and 6 p.m., he's live on the radio. And, you know, by the way, it was terrible for the host.
Oh, I think that's what may have saved him also. He let him down this path to where Bob Huggins was like, okay, if we're going there, like, I guess we're free to say whatever, which was bizarre because the more that you listen to it, it's like he obviously didn't have to go there, but the conversation was so fluent and like sewage that he was like, okay, I guess we're just saying whatever. And then you touch a sensitive spot where he already has with Xavier, doesn't like him, and then he starts like he's almost Hansel and Greteling him into saying like clickbait material. I don't think he intended to, but it's just you can see that their relationship is that, where he felt comfortable and he felt comfortable. But we've both worked as production and in the radio. Bob didn't just answer the phone and it was the host.
Right.
You get a phone call like, all right, we'll be back in 3 minutes. Like, you know, like there's no world in which he just called him on the cell phone. Like, let's see if I can get Huggy Bear.
Right. Like, hello? Hey, Bob.
Hey, Bob, you're on.
Like, I mean, it just.
That was pre-produced.
It
like,
doesn't work.
It was
like live. I mean, it's a
100%.
text message. Hey, Bob, are you available?
Yes.
I mean, can you come on with us?
You'll get a call from my producer.
It was like West Virginia was doing, you know, kind of like what LSU does, what they call the Tiger Tour, where they go tour around the state and they go talk to, you know, pockets of people within that certain area. That's what was happening. I mean, West Virginia and Huggins was scheduled to speak like an hour after that radio interview that they pulled him off of the stage. They pulled him out of the presentation. I mean, there was some real, you know, discussions behind the scenes of what was going to happen immediately with Bob Huggins, and Bill Cunningham is the show host. And as soon as Huggins made those comments, Cunningham says, like, isn't this guy great?
Yeah.
Isn't this guy great? Like,
the best.
I mean, like, isn't this guy the best? Isn't he the best? And, like, I mean, it's so awkward when you listen to it. I mean, it's so cringy. And so just kind of like, oh, God, what am I? Make it stop. Just make it stop. And I've been in those situations where, you know, you think you're being funny in public and you're getting like these one-word answers back from the person that you're interviewing. You know, I mean, you could tell Cunningham was trying to bring it to a place that probably privately they all laugh at. You know, it sounds like they all make fun of Xavier because it's like kind of like crosstown rival, right? So I mean, like when these people get together, I mean, one of the co-host was Steve Moeller, who was a former assistant coach for Huggins. Another point I would give you that there's no way Huggins didn't know he was live. I mean, it's one of his good friends. I mean, that is one of his, you know, I mean, those guys have done some real shady stuff together recruiting college basketball. I mean, like they got secrets on one another. They know that he knows Moeller. It's just it was a very awkward back and forth, and one that nearly cost Huggins his job. And like I said, I was surprised to wake up and see that it didn't, but have to be honest in saying that man, I hope more, that people say rather than just exile you for the mistake, teach you the repercussions of that mistake and, educate you not to do that again and help more people not to do that. Right? I mean, wasn't Huggins, didn't he have Tom Brenneman talk to his basketball team?
Yeah, in 2020. Like, whenever Tom Brenneman went down, it was that. I think that was the same year that it happened. And Brenneman, obviously, and there's a deep job to left by Castellano, but I mean, they did the same thing. And I think Brenneman just got hired this year again from a different outlet.
Yeah.
But
which is surprising.
I guess time heals all wounds, and you hope that. But anytime, like, I'm wondering how this is going to be handled whenever he's on a national televised game for the first time.
I think that there's so much time between now and basketball season. That's one thing that's in his favor. Think about the news cycle now.
Right.
Do you remember what happened 3 days ago?
No, I don't even remember what I had for dinner.
Exactly. I mean, that's how it works. I mean, now we're talking about 5 months.
Yeah.
6 months.
It'll just be the Bob Huggins controversy.
Right.
And, he's back.
Some of you may remember.
Yeah. And I don't know if that's the people in which he offended, like that community, is even. I don't know if they're going to go to basketball games, and it's like there's going to be some sort of protest. I wouldn't imagine in West Virginia,
right,
for the community. But that's if that begins to happen, if he does get public pressure, then that would be the time when West Virginia's like, this is too much.
I'd imagine that he had public sentiment on his side.
Yeah,
I'd imagine he had that behind him for sure because. First, it was a very swift decision by West Virginia. It was pretty quick.
Well, I thought the nail in the coffin, so to speak, was whenever they both let out statements, and you're just like, once this happens, you start leading down a path of you get the statement, and then we've officially decided to part ways with Bob Huggins, and it's like, okay,
yeah, I mean,
par for the course.
How many times have you seen the story? I mean, it feels like it's happening right in front of your eyes, and it's following all of the checklists that usually end up with somebody being terminated. It didn't happen. I got to say, I was surprised by it. Katie's in Mid-City brings you our show here daily. Remember our friends Scott Craig and Katie's down in New Orleans. They're in Mid-City on Iberville Street. They've been around since 1984. You can find them with fantastic menu selections. 3701 Iberville Street is where they're located. You can find them there. You can also check out their sister restaurant, Katie's by Francesca, or Francesca's by Katie's. Francesca's by Katie's is located over in Lakeview, and as we said, you can find the menu online at katiesinmidcity.com, katiesinmidcity.com for
all of your restaurant needs.
One of the top restaurants in the city. All right, we're really looking forward to our second hour today, and hopefully you'll come back with us. Shea is vacationing to Europe next week. He's doing a lot of last-minute stuff, so we're going to try to have his segment tomorrow to kind of shoehorn it in here to the week to get you some recruiting information.
So disgusted by the dining in Baton Rouge that he has to go gallivant to Europe.
Great story last week for Shea, talking about a date night experience with him and Emily.
Imagine if that was a first date.
Oh, brutal.
Brutal.
That's brutal.
I guess
you could probably spin that on a first date.
Oh, it'd be something you laugh at later, but
it's probably almost kind of a good thing for a first date.
Yeah, you would have a visceral experience, like a moment. Yeah.
I mean,
for sure.
First off, if you make it to an hour and a half on the first date,
it's going great
at the table, and we can laugh about this.
Now we have a bottle of wine to bring home. You got to finish this thing.
My guy.
Yeah.
My guy.
Doing here.
You're good.
Let me go talk to Tom.
Right, Tom, come here.
Hey, sir.
Here's that 100.
Yeah.
Nice play there, buddy.
Yes, sir. Uber's around back.
Now go get me a corkscrew so I can open this thing.
Just need
can I keep the glassware or what? All right, coming up at the 8 o'clock hour, 8:15, we're going to talk to Chris Blair as we always do. We'll get we will get a little bit of a preview here for LSU Mississippi State. Tigers number 2 in the country. First time all season long. They are not playing with the number 1 next to the logo. So we'll talk to the voice and see if that has any impact on LSU or what may shake out because of it. LSU Mississippi State this weekend. Lots more to get to. As we said, really looking forward to our conversation. If you have not seen it, you got to check it out, man. Algiers America is on Hulu right now. And Jackson Fager, who is the executive producer of it, down in New Orleans, put together this 2-year series, this 5-part series that actually it finished up this week, finished up last night, and is it's a great watch, man. If you're into high school football, obviously that's kind of the magnet that will pull you, but the storytelling that you get, and look, recruiting, they've got a couple of huge recruits on there, including Aaron Anderson, who is now at LSU, and my man, Big Ty G, as Ty G Adams.
Ty G Hill.
Who's Ty G Adams?
I Googled him. The
lineman that signed from St. Aug. It's actually Tyree Adams.
He's close. He's aging in front of our face. Savion
Jones.
There we go. We're making progress. Making progress.
Savion Jones. Who's going to be a freak, man.
There is a Savion Smith, though.
Yeah, that person exists. They both exist.
Yeah, no, I know they both exist.
It's real people.
No, I know they both exist.
I'm guilty of
I mean, that was a tough one for a minute.
Yeah.
It still gives me hell.
Ty G Adams is now first on the list.
I love Ty G.
I know. You just watched a show about him.
Not only that, but like in recruiting, we had him on, and he was great. He was a great interview.
Oh, you can see the personality from, like, that's what made me want to watch Algiers America. I knew he would be spotlighted after talking with him on our show, on your show, and I was like, I bet there's no way they're not going to find this man. Like, he's not going to not let himself be on camera. He's posted up in the bed, like, just talking. And I was like, this man does it. Those are the best interviews of the people that, I mean, obviously you don't want to go Bob Huggins far to that level of comfortability. Sure. But of like whatever. Bob. Keep going, Bob.
We're live.
And nothing from Bill, by the way. He hasn't issued a statement. I guess he just goes live again. Like, what did I do?
I mean, we got numbers.
I didn't say anything. Yeah. Been in the news for years. But when you get somebody like that, and as soon as they, like, you could talk to him in the break, obviously. And whenever we talked to Ty G, we're like, oh, yeah, this is going to go great. As opposed to, who was our guy? Went to Tennessee.
Jordan Matthews?
No, Nolan. Walter.
Oh, well.
We heard more from his left turn signal than we heard from Walter.
More from Tupac. We heard more from Tupac in the interview than
it was pretty clear.
Was he listening to Biggie? I think he was listening to Biggie.
He wasn't there yet.
Yeah.
It was, I think it was Biggie in the car. And then it was a whole lot of blinkers and the engine revving. We're like, I don't think he's coming to LSU. But I appreciate you taking the time, Walt.
All right, hour 2 coming at you. Jordy Culotta Show, built by R&B. Donaldsonville Glass and Body, the trusted name in frame, body, and automotive paint repair since 1977. They have served their customers for over 45 years. You can find them online at dgbauto.com or stop in and see them Railroad Avenue and Division Street out in Donaldsonville, Louisiana. Look, they can help you with your insurance claims. They can make the repair process as stress-free as possible. I'm speaking from experience here. I've got numerous windshields, body repair, all done by Kenny and the crew over at Donaldsonville Glass and Body. They are, without question, the most well-equipped shop in the area. Stop in and see them today. Shop them online, dgbauto.com, or stop in and see the crew over in Division Street in Donaldsonville, Louisiana. Donaldsonville Glass and Body. Hey fellas, it's Jordy Culotta for my friends over at Men's Total Health. Guys, do you suffer from fatigue, decreased libido, erectile dysfunction, weight gain or loss of muscle mass, signs of depression, anxiety, hair loss, mental fog, general loss of interest? Then you might be suffering from low testosterone. Go see my friend Mike Roach and his great team over at Men's Total Health, over in Metairie at menstotalhealth.net online. And stop in and see how they can change your life today. A simple shot and some knowledge from Mike Roach can get you back up, moving with your energy, get your sex drive back, build your muscle mass, make you feel young again. All online, menstotalhealth.net. Red Stick Sports, a local staple in Baton Rouge to all sports fans, was founded back in 1981 and has remained a family business for over 40 years. Today, they still have the great selection on the floor, but they're also a leader in custom apparel for businesses, sports teams, and other groups. Take it from us, everybody over here at FM Digital Media. They help us out with all of our apparel. Let them help you out today. Go ask for Cody over at Red Stick Sports. Check him out online at redsticksports.biz.
The Jordy Culotta Show is brought to you by A-Bears Lawn Maintenance. Commercial or residential, A-Bears Lawn Maintenance is ready to work. A-Bears can tackle all your homeowners association requirements. Call Blake at 225-485-8022. A-Bears Lawn Maintenance.
Get Gordon and get it done. Get Gordon and get it done. Corrects done. Personal injury done. Workers' comp done. Truck wrecks done. Get Gordon and get it done. Get Gordon and get it done.
In 1975, Mike Anderson left the gridiron for the grill, opening a po' boy shop near LSU. If you're from Louisiana, odds are you've tasted a dish, experienced the tradition of Mike Anderson's seafood. 48 years later, the tradition of Mike Anderson's lives on with the next generation.
I'm very thankful.
He's never allowed okay to be okay. It's a driving force for me to just want to keep it as good as he made it.
Mike Anderson Seafood and WAFB, celebrating the community. All right, welcome back here.
Talk about it.
Welcome back here to the Jordy Culotta Show. As always, built by our friend Rhett Bourgeois and RMB Builders. Get in touch with Rhett today. We were watching the reaction to last night. Anthony Davis left the game in a wheelchair, which, I mean, just alone for Anthony Davis, this is about to become a meme. I mean, this is about to become the only way you see Anthony Davis, probably. Is there any visual to it?
No, I haven't seen any visual to it, but I mean,
there's gotta be.
But they certainly announced it on air, like after he was injured, and they were like, Anthony Davis is leaving in a wheelchair, and everybody was like, what? And then they have Darvin Ham, the Lakers head coach, after the game, like they obviously asked about Anthony Davis and the extent of his injury. He goes, he seems to be doing really good already. Like, right. I mean, of course he is.
Right, right. He could play tonight. He could play again.
Right now.
Yeah, right.
We went to overtime, he'd be ready. It's just par for the course for Anthony Davis. Unbelievable.
It is. It is amazing to see how, and you know, you use this term, I mean, because this guy's a professional athlete, he's been doing it for a long time, but I mean, the inability for this guy to stay on the floor is, it's got to be a case study. Like, I mean, like when his career wraps up, the amount he just misses.
Oh, the 25-game streak.
Did you see that?
Yes.
It's unreal. Like it's unreal. He can't get to 25 straight.
He can't.
I mean, think about that. Think about how many games there's 82 regular season games in an NBA season.
The way he's never played 25 games. He's never
played 25 straight. He's gotten to like 23. He's gotten to 22. He's gotten to like 19 and 18 a lot. But I mean, like there's something about a 25 game consistently playing streak for Anthony Davis that just he cannot do. He hasn't done. I mean, it's like it's the numbers are crazy. I mean, and the way that he reacts to
anything,
any air is he has got to be one of the. I mean, LeBron's up there.
But he plays.
Exactly. But I mean, like LeBron, like this guy, unless there is, a steamroller that's coming out of this guy's playing, right? Because the discussion is, Anthony Davis misses a significant amount of time for what looks like very, very recoverable. we all remember the difference between, like, are you injured or you hurt?
Yeah.
Very young.
Coach, I got a hangnail.
We've all tried to be that dramatic kid on the playground that's like rolling around, thinking like, you know what I mean?
It's broken.
I'm dead, but no, you're out of breath, so chill out. You got the wind knocked out of you.
That is the worst thing. The first time it happened, it's shocking.
It is.
I don't think I'm dead.
But you think you need the paramedics, right? You throw the helmet off of you. Legs are up. You're undoing the shoulder pads to get off. It's just, what's wrong? I'm dead.
You can't say anything.
Yeah, right.
It feels
are
like
you
shit.
Injured or are you hurt, man?
Give me 3 seconds.
Can you do this or not?
Look at the tweet I just sent the account.
Hangnail Davis, man.
Yeah, but street clothes.
Street clothes.
And then the report comes out. Obviously, they're concerned about a concussion.
Oh, gosh.
And it reports that he has avoided a concussion because he barely got touched. He took an elbow to the head.
Did he get poked in the eye?
No, he got elbowed in the temple, which I could understand. Maybe was probably gave him a headache. But Terrell Davis played with the migraine. That's why Chuck and. There's people online that are trying to bash Chuck and Shaq for laughing at this. And it's brother, they played.
How many people are laughing at this? And I know, I'm not laughing at someone's injury, and I'm not laughing.
Not an injury.
I'm not laughing at a concussion if he has one. And I know that stuff's real. You catch an elbow from a power forward in the NBA, that's going to hurt. I get it, right? But it's the person that it's happening to and the reaction that comes along with it.
Right.
It's.
I'm about to pull this up, and y'all let me know if he got hit hard enough to even
I'm telling you, Stewie, I'm with you. It looks like he gets poked in the eye.
I wouldn't say this was hard enough for him to be
concussed.
Concussed.
No, he just never gets. He doesn't know how to deal with physical contact.
How?
I don't know.
You've been in the league. How long has he been in the league now? A decade, right?
Oh my God!
That's embarrassing. That's embarrassing.
How do you go back to the locker room?
Seriously. As if your teammates will not see that in film and be like, you're the best player you're the best player in the series. You mean something when you come off the floor. That knocks you out of the game? He left in a wheelchair for that? Is that what he left for?
That's what he left the game for. That is
in a wheelchair?
Uh-huh.
Yes.
Holy cow!
And then he walked out of the arena under his own power.
Cow,
if you're a Pelicans fan, thank God that's out your life. Zion's a whole nother world of issues.
They've got the same thing.
Yeah, but at least Zion.
They've got two of the most revolutionary basketball prospects ever created.
Play the game.
Anthony Davis and Zion Williamson almost have no comp.
Right.
They almost have. They're almost they're aliens. They're kind of they're freaks among freaks. Yet, for whatever reason, they have spent an extended amount of time in New Orleans and cannot play. They cannot play consistently. And when I say cannot play, I just mean can't get on the floor. Once they get on the floor, Anthony Davis is the best player in the series. The series features Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, Draymond Green, LeBron James, and Anthony Davis. And Anthony Davis is the best player on the floor. When he is right and he's healthy and he's playing on both sides of the floor, he's a rim protector for him on defense. He's turned into one in this series. I'm never claiming that he played defense. For whatever reason, he has played better defense and has turned into a problem for Golden State at the rim defensively. He's coming out on those pick and rolls and was a problem early on for Steph's still getting his, right? But he's an issue for Draymond, and he's an issue around the rim for him defensively. And then offensively, he's as skilled as he's the most skilled player out there offensively. Steph Curry's the best shooter in the world, best shooter of all time in NBA history. LeBron's the best athlete this game has ever seen. On that floor, Anthony Davis is the best basketball player. It's just the game is so easy for him. It's like scary easy. I mean, his little turnaround 16, 18-footer, I mean, he kind of like shoots it with one hand. He's like staring at the rim.
10 feet isn't that high for him.
He's a freak, but I mean, like, if you were a coach or GM, how frustrating to, like, be like, AD, this is the conference semifinals, man. Like, an elbow to the head? I get it. Like, fix your headband, but get back on defense. I mean, like, leaving the game in a wheelchair over that.
There's a corgi on TikTok that is 5 for 5 on his predictions. He shoots into a little hoop. he's nailing the series.
Wow.
he has the let's see. Warriors win in 7.
Wow, it's a great series. I mean, obviously, I mean it features. I mean, the star power alone on the floor in this series is embarrassing. I mean, just when you look, I mean, there's 4 Hall of Famers on the floor. But last night, Golden State 121-106. Lakers still up 3-2 in the series.
LeBron was limping. So it's perfect. That's the perfect career arc for Steph Curry. He's able to win a championship last year without KD.
But you're also talking about 2 of the most dramatic players in league history in Anthony Davis and LeBron James. AD doesn't like to set himself up to play hero. LeBron may be the biggest hero in the history of the game, who wants to be hero. Right? He likes to limp away from Game 5 and then sprint back into Game 7. I mean, if I'm Steph Curry and I'm the Golden State Warriors, do not bite the bait.
Yeah.
Like,
LeBron he's setting
he
you up.
started limping when he saw the game was over.
Yeah. Ooh.
You know what I mean? Like, this game's out of reach.
Hurting a little bit.
AD's getting wheeled off. I might as well build another storyline here and start limping the rest of the time here.
Lakers are falling apart.
I'm almost 40, and this man has to get wheeled off and slapped in the face.
I mean, unless he...
Game 7's going to be in San Francisco?
Yes.
Okay.
Wait, have y'all seen the memes of Draymond, like post game going on his podcast, like talking about the game, and it's just like quotes of what he would say. It's like, my king had 26, 15, and 6.
He's. I've been listening to his podcast in this series. He records it like when he's still like pretty hot. You know what I mean? Like he's still in it. You know what I mean? And like, I mean, he called somebody soft. He might have called AD soft.
That would be easy.
Right, but I mean, but like the way that he breaks down, and you can tell sometimes he's giving you the scouting report. You know, like it's like because he's so in it. You know, I mean,
he loves LeBron too.
Yeah, he loves LeBron.
Like
he asked Steve Kerr. It came out that he asked Steve Kerr.
Oh yeah, to go to
LeBron's game. I guess it was the last regular season game of the year.
The one where
he was going for the scoring record.
Yeah.
And
you want to sit on the bench?
Yeah, Kerr was like, "No, man,
bad luck.
I can't have that.
Like, the team is gonna look at you.
This
like,
game's gonna be all over television. We can't.
Imagine asking Michael.
We can't have that.
Like Steve Kerr was probably like, if I asked Michael Jordan that, I'd get hit again.
Dude, would punch me in the face again.
Get wheeled out. Then Steve Kerr has to look over there and be like, what happened to basketball? I was taking haymakers for Michael Jordan. That was cool.
I mean,
now they're all hanging out.
They were like dragging Michael Jordan on the ground when he would go to the goal.
Yeah.
And he would just get up and shoot his free throws.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Anthony Davis would have been.
Oh my God! Like
oh my God! Could you imagine Anthony Davis playing the Pistons of the '90s?
Dennis Rodman,
Bill Laimbeer, Rick Mahorn. Like, I mean, just
we'll get him out in the first minute. You don't have to worry about Anthony
Come on,
Davis.
AD. Post up.
Yeah.
It's
giving him a little
elbow. Oh my God,
one to the rib cage and one to the neck. You know what I mean? Like,
common foul.
That's how they were playing.
And he was quitting.
I mean, like they were getting running starts at MJ. Like they were starting from the baseline and running, beating him in the middle of the lane.
It was slam ball. Let's meet at the rim. AD, I mean,
don't care about the 2 free throws.
Yeah, right.
It's unbelievable.
I wish Kobe was on this Laker team.
You'd have the Kobe
he
beam.
would have punched AD in the face
a long time ago.
Yeah, LeBron won't do that.
He'd have probably had him dealt.
Yeah.
He'd have probably been like, we can't win with this.
Nope.
I mean, like
street clothes.
I mean, this guy, he makes
soft people look soft.
He makes Shaq look like Reggie Miller. I mean, like, it's amazing how much time he misses.
Do you think that he's like, is Anthony Davis even aware of any of this?
Has to be. He has to be.
You think he cares, though?
At this point, he has to not. Because it's just too.
too
I mean, with Shaq and Charles laughing at you like that on the set.
He was the first one up on Shaq and a Fool.
I mean, he's the best player on the floor when he's right. He got wheeled off last night because he caught a wrist to the head.
To the chin.
Simple.
It's unreal. All right, Chris Blair is here. The voice is here. We're going to talk LSU baseball. Tigers, for the first time, will take an SEC series and take the field as not the number one team in the country. What's that mean for LSU? We'll ask Blair next here on the Jordy Culotta Show, as always, built by our friend Rhett Bourgeois and RMB Builders. RMB-builders.com is where you find them online. Beautiful Instagram for Rhett Bourgeois and RMB. Check him out at RMB Builders over on Instagram. RMB Builders, Rhett Bourgeois and his crew. Chris Blair next here on the Jordy Culotta Show.
Hey now.
Hey, Baton Rouge, when traveling through Natchez, Mississippi, whether you need to fill up your vehicle or your belly, stop by Go-Mart and On The Go Deli. Go-Mart has clean restrooms, community coffee, an awesome beer cave, and a great selection of anything you might need on your trip. So stop by Go-Mart at 4 Sergeant Prentice Drive as you're entering Natchez on the left, and visit Tom and Wright Granning and their awesome team at Go-Mart.
Are you looking for sound financial advice? Then get in touch with Daniel Newman of Edward Jones. You can call him today at 225-261-8262 or email him daniel.newman@edwardjones.com. If you're planning for retirement, saving for college for children or grandchildren, or just looking for sound investment opportunities, get in touch with Daniel today, 225-261-8262, located on Magnolia Square Drive in Central. Daniel Newman of Edward Jones. Fourier Insurance Agency, established in 1946, locally can help you with any of your home, auto, commercial, contractors, life and health insurance today. Give them a call, 225-383-0682, or log online to FourierAgency.com.
Hey, she's on her way up.
Hey, G, I got you something.
Hey, Coach. What do you think? Is this too much?
If you look good, you play good.
All right, then. Let's get it done.
Do you need your roof checked or just ready to get a new roof? Premier South Roofing and Sheet Metal has helped over 10,000 customers with their roofs over the last 2 decades. Premier South employs over 300 team members in South Louisiana. They're accredited by the Better Business Bureau. They've been named in the top 100 roofers in the nation for a number of years. And Premier South has former insurance adjusters in-house whose job it is to help get all the insurance money you deserve. So go to PremierSouthLA.com for Premier South Roofing and Sheet Metal and get your free inspection.
Premier South Roofing.
All right, welcome back. Jordy Culotta Show, as always, built by R&B Builders, Rhett Bourgeois, and the crew. Every Thursday, we catch up with the voice, Chris Blair. Always look forward to catching up with Chris. As he was in Auburn last weekend, he'll be home this weekend with Mississippi State in town, calling LSU and the Bulldogs in. Chris, good morning. How are you?
Hey, man, I'm good.
Good to see you again.
Yeah.
LSU Auburn last weekend. I caught a vibe Friday night, kind of against Skeens, that like Auburn is for real, because this is as good as Skeens has been.
Yeah, I mean, he first of all, Paul Skeens was. It was incredible. Yeah. I mean, everybody that I saw that was up in the press box, as the game was going on, they were like, "We heard about it, we've seen a little bit of it, but to watch it with our own eyes is amazing." But going into the weekend, I think we sat here last week. I said, "Hey, look, it's an offensive team. They can, especially at their park. I mean, and that's why they had success against South Carolina. Is Carolina doesn't have the green monster, but the dimensions are the same. I mean, it's a hitter's ballpark. So they could score runs. Their pitching was 13th in the SEC as far as ERA going into the weekend. So you think, okay, Auburn may score some runs, but LSU is certainly going to have their opportunities as well. And outside of Paul Skeens and frankly Nate Ackenhausen and Thatcher Hurd, who I thought on Friday night, all three guys really gave you something good. Skeens was great, of course. But then after that, it was, you leave 29 men on base, in a series. And that's something LSU had not done. I mean, they are one of the best in getting guys on, over, and in. They just didn't this weekend. And I'll be honest, although Auburn really surprised me as well as they pitched, I mean, again, they had been serving up batting practice in a lot of SEC series. But they were pounding the strike zone. For whatever reason, LSU, I think, in Game 3 on Sunday in that disaster had something like 14 fly ball outs and 7 strikeouts. That's not a formula for LSU to be successful. And if you go back, I really felt like after the Tennessee series, you knew what you had in Paul Skeens. I don't think you knew what you had in Game 2 or Game 3 starters. I don't know that you knew what you had out of the bullpen consistently. I just felt like LSU is going to have to outscore people. I mean, and I know that's a little extreme, but when they have a weekend off at the plate like they did this past weekend, it's going to spell trouble.
It haunts them, for sure. How weird was that moment on Saturday where 15 minutes and Floyd, I mean, obviously he was the big loser there because he was rolling,
Yeah,
right?
he was. I mean, he looked like miniature Paul Skeens through the first 3 innings. First 11 outs, Auburn recorded, 9 of them were strikeouts from Ty Floyd. I mean, that's as good as it gets. And then, you had the crazy ejection on the balk, which, the whole thing that really – it was the way it appeared to me was Ty Floyd has a great move for a right-hander to first base. We've seen that all year. So when he made the throw to first, it was a close play. I actually thought he might have got him.
Yeah.
But then I look and the home plate umpire's pointing to second. And I'm like, oh, wait a minute, Bill. I think they called Ty for a balk. And then as I look back to the umpire, he does this, like ejection. Jay had not even got out of the dugout. He was on his way out, but he hadn't gotten out yet. So you're talking – what's the distance from home plate to the dugout? 60 feet, something like that, 70 feet, 80 feet?
Right.
So I thought, oh, my goodness, if he threw Jay out, that's the quickest fuse I've ever seen an umpire have.
He's got some carry on that voice.
Yeah. So then Jay comes out, and then they keep pointing into the dugout, like, okay, they're not throwing Jay, but somebody from the dugout.
The guy in gray.
But as it turned out, they had no clue. He heard something. He didn't like it. He tossed somebody. Truth is, he doesn't know who he tossed. Damn. And as somebody in gray, we were wearing gray unis, so that's hard to narrow that down. Jamie Tutko, whether or not Jamie thought it was himself or he just said, "Hey, I'll fall on the sword," which good on him. He was like, "All right, I'm out." Which he's a very important part of the overall thing, but not particularly in game. So, and then I give. I don't want to say I give Butch Thompson credit because this will make Tiger fans mad, but, I mean, he intentionally did what he did because he realized, wait a minute, they didn't remove any of the coaches. And if you're assuming he threw a coach out.
Right.
So then he goes over, they bring the first base umpire over, they talk about it, they start pointing into the dugout. And then after they figure out, okay, it is Coach Jordan, let's have him leave, and Jamie can come back. Then Butch Thompson decides, you know what? My team had momentum. We had a leadoff walk. Then we got a runner to second. Now you guys slowed the game down because you don't know who you threw it. So then he just took another 5 minutes to yell at the umpires simply to I think, kind of get in Ty's ears. Yeah. And it did. unfortunately for him. But
I mean, he didn't throw a pitch for 15 minutes.
Yeah, it was pretty hard to watch. But Jay said it Monday night on his radio show. He said, "Hey, Ty and I had a conversation Sunday morning in the team hotel, which was, hey, things like that are going to happen. We got to work together in trying to find a way to keep you locked in. Don't let those things, distract you." And I tell you, the biggest bright spot for me was Gavin Guidry on Sunday. The game was, I hate to say, already in hand because he came in with nobody out in the bottom of the first. But you could tell old Mo had, went to the Auburn dugout and he wasn't moving. But, Guidry comes in, and as a freshman, he just I know we're down 6-1. I know we've walked a bunch of people. I know the crowd's into this, but all of that's in the periphery. I'm going to throw strikes. I'm going to get 3 outs. And he did, including 2 strikeouts. So that was, in an otherwise dismal day, that was a little bit of a silver lining, was Gavin.
Positive. I know you mentioned a little bit, but Thatcher Hurd Tuesday night?
Yeah. I mean, again, I've been asked a bunch this week, and I don't have the answers, obviously, but people want to know, hey, do you think there'll be a change in the rotation this weekend? I mean, if you'd asked me that 2 weeks ago, knowing Jay the way I do, there's always a chance of that. But would I be shocked? No, not really. Who would that be? That becomes a bigger question. I think, I don't know if they're at the point where they trust Gavin enough, who is, I thought, in the South Carolina series came in big. He's been in big moments for LSU. So I think he's a candidate. I think Thatcher Hurd, who got a chance early and didn't work out, I think his last several outings out of the bullpen, he's looked a lot more effective. So, we'll wait and see. I kind of tried to get Jay to mention it Monday night, and as I suspected he would say, be at the ballpark and everybody will find out,
right.
Including me.
The Cruz storyline last weekend, that's the first time you've probably seen that in 3 years, huh?
Yeah, it's been a while.
2 for 12 last weekend.
Yeah, that's you just don't see that very often. And again, it goes back to what I said earlier, which is, this team, I think, just the way they're built 1 through 9, you don't expect them to leave 29 men on base, and they haven't. If you look at them consistently this year, they're one of the tops in the country with runners on base finding those hits. Yeah. I don't even call them clutch hits anymore. It's just timely hitting's probably a better phrase, just because we're so accustomed to it. And in that Saturday night game, I mean, there was a chance you could get to Dylan and Tommy late in that game with runners on. I mean, LSU's 1 or 2 hits away from winning that contest possibly. Wasn't the case on Sunday, but those things are going to happen from time to time. But I think, Dylan's probably the headliner because he is who he is. But it was not a good hitting weekend overall for the entire team. And I think you can argue about who should pitch, who should start, who should come out of the bullpen, who should be the closer, all of that stuff. But I'm just thoroughly convinced through the number of games I've watched this year, it's going to come down to the offense doing what they do. And when that happens, the Tigers more times than not are going to win games, whether that's a 3-game series, whether it's a regional, whether it's a super regional, or whether they have a chance down the road in Hoover and in Omaha. It's going to be the offense. And when you have a weekend like that or a stretch of games like that, we have the transfer portal. We don't have the waiver wire. So the pitching staff is what it is. I think there's a possibility that guys can get better, but it's going to come down to the offense.
Yeah. This series this weekend used to kind of be the Ali Frazier of SEC baseball. I know you're dialed in LSU, and have you looked at Mississippi State?
Yeah.
I mean, why are they?
Well, I mean, after they had such a terrible start, you can't help but say, sitting around in hotels like, hey, Mississippi State's playing whoever. I just want to get a look at it because I don't understand how they have the fall off from 2 years of a title. Ole Miss is, like saying hold my beer over here because they're 1 year removed from a title. But it really comes down to pitching. I mean, for all the complaining and, hey, why don't we have a solid game 2 and a solid game 3? Oh, my goodness. I mean, Mississippi State just really, they struggle getting outs. They struggle striking people out. So, again, I think it's going back to Tuesday's midweek. I think LSU exorcised a lot of those demons from the weekend. I think they left 3 men on base. Basically, everybody who got on scored.
Right.
Right. Not to mention 4 home runs in the game, including 3 back-to-back-to-back. But I think this is a chance again to do that. But, Jay will tell you, I mean, it's a team that's 2 years removed from a title. They've got SEC talent. As you mentioned, this has always been kind of a heavyweight fight in the SEC, certainly in the West. and it's a team that, at this point, probably still trying to fight to get to Hoover. That window's starting to close. But beyond all of that, I think they'd love to come to Baton Rouge and just, wreck LSU's party a little bit, because it is the final SEC home series. So, for all of those reasons, LSU's going to have to play well.
For sure. Chris Blair, the voice, weekly here on the Jordy Culotta Show. We love to see him every week. It's good to see you. Have a great call this week.
Yeah, man, looking forward to it.
How excited are you for Friday night? Obviously, it's going to be the swan song for Dylan Cruz, Paul Skeens, with being de facto senior day for those two.
It's going to be, I think they're going to, I was told Sunday they'll kind of have some type of ceremony, which is interesting because of what you just said. You have guys who are literally playing their last game from an eligibility standpoint, and then you've got another bunch of guys that you're pretty sure won't be back. So I don't know how they're going to handle the honoring or the official kind of thing, but I think everybody kind of knows. You got one more midweek game coming up, but in an SEC series, you're going to see some great ones play for the last time there, at least in the regular season.
If you hadn't seen Skeens up close and live, take your kid Friday night.
Worth the price of admission.
He is worth every penny.
Yeah, man.
And if you don't have a television around, make sure and catch it on the radio. Chris Blair, LSU Sports Radio Network. He is the voice. He's with us on Thursdays. We'll be back. Looking forward to our next conversation, as well as Jackson Fager will be here. Algiers America, the documentary on Hulu based around Edna Carr High School over the last couple of years, culminated last night on Hulu. We'll talk to him about the project next here on the Jordy Culotta Show, built by R&B Builders. Donaldsonville Glass and Body, the trusted name in frame, body, and automotive paint repair since 1977. They have served their customers for over 45 years. You can find them online at dgbauto.com or stop in and see them Railroad Avenue and Division Street out in Donaldsonville, Louisiana. Look, they can help you with your insurance claims. They can make the repair process as stress-free as possible. I'm speaking from experience here. I've got numerous windshields, body repair, all done by Kenny and the crew over at Donaldsonville Glass and Body. They are, without question, the most well-equipped shop in the area. Stop in and see them today. Shop them online, dgbauto.com, or stop in and see the crew over in Division Street in Donaldsonville, Louisiana. Donaldsonville Glass and Body. Hey fellas, it's Jordy Culotta for my friends over at Men's Total Health. Guys, do you suffer from fatigue, decreased libido, erectile dysfunction, weight gain or loss of muscle mass, signs of depression, anxiety, hair loss, mental fog, general loss of interest? Then you might be suffering from low testosterone. Go see my friend Mike Roach and his great team over at Men's Total Health over in Metairie at menstotalhealth.net online. And stop in and see how they can change your life today. A simple shot and some knowledge from Mike Roach can get you back up, moving with your energy, get your sex drive back, build your muscle mass, make you feel young again. All online, menstotalhealth.net. All right, welcome back here, Jordy Culotta Show. Good stuff as always from Chris Blair. Thanks to the voice. Make sure and check out LSU baseball on the LSU Sports Radio Network. Chris will be on the call. Doug Thompson will be there with the home series in Mississippi State this weekend. Really excited about our next conversation. This is one that we've been talking about for a while now, as we have been dialed into Algiers America, and it culminated this week on Hulu as it was a 5-part series that dove into the last 2 years of Edna Carr High School football, or before this year, the previous 2 seasons. Aaron Anderson was a junior and a senior during this documentary. And we also saw our guy Ty G. Hill from that part of the country at Edna Carr be highlighted as well. But beyond the football stories, as we've talked about every week here on the show, kind of giving you update of each episode, it dives into so much more than the program. And really, our next guest, who is someone I met right when this this was launching. I believe it was the week of the launch. It was going to launch on Hulu, and we have a shared friend who it should be a part of a prize game. You should win a night and party with our friend Lance Unglesby. He's a stud.
What country are we going to?
Yeah, right, exactly. Jackson Fager, who is the executive director and the mind behind this, and really kind of the visionary behind this project that brought it to life with the help of so many people, joins us now here on the show this morning. Jackson, thank you for joining us, man. Good morning.
Hey, Jordy. Thanks for having me, man. How are you?
I'm doing good, man. It was unbelievable, to be in this part of the country and see the story that you told was, man, it was so real, and it was incredible to be able to connect and see that. Where did this vision start? Where did this even, the thought of this even kind of come to your mind?
Well, Jordy, I was lucky enough to work for WWL in my 20s. That was my first job right out of college. I moved down here. I came to Jazz Fest when I was 23, and I'm a Yankee, man, and I was like, what the hell is going on down here? I was blown away by the culture, by the people. There were more people over 50 years old having fun than under 50. I was like, this is the kind of place I want to be. And so I moved down here. I got a job at WWL, and part of my job as a cameraman was covering Friday Night Lights. So I covered it for years, for almost 5 years. I worked with all the great guys down here, the reporters, Jim Henderson, Juan Kincaid, Scott Cody, Garland Gillen. They were all at WWL at the time. And my first game was actually a Carr football game at Berman at their home stadium. Just blew me away, man. I hadn't been to a high school football experience like that before, where you've got, 5,000 people at the game, and the level of play always stuck with me. So, we did a lot of stories back then at the time on things similar to what we've done here. There are always kids who are, going through really intense levels of adversity in these neighborhoods of New Orleans, as you know. And I left for about 8 years. I went and worked for Vice Media. I covered the world, saw a lot of things, and I'd always wanted to come back to New Orleans. I married a girl from Baton Rouge, actually, who you might know, Victoria Williams. And when we got back here, as soon as I got back, I was just like, I don't know what it was, man. There's just something in me that just knew I wanted to devote everything I had learned over the years to this craft and putting it back to my community and helping people here. And gun violence had only gotten worse since when I was here before. It was always bad. But I felt like it was one of those issues in our country, not just here, but everywhere, that's so underreported, and I didn't understand why. And I thought it would be a really nice combination of highlighting this incredible talent down here that I think gets underreported as well, because so much credit goes to Texas and Florida and Alabama over the years. And I thought it was a great opportunity to put Louisiana football on the map, which also just makes it fun for me as a journalist with doing what I do, while also talking about these important realities happening right now. So the two together felt like a really nice combo. I met Bryce Brown almost 3 years ago to the day, which is crazy to think about right now, man. There's a lot of emotions going through me as this final episode is finally aired. And I literally sat down with the guy 3 years ago and was blown away by him, as I think all people are when they meet him, and whether or not in this series or in person. He's just one of those people that, thank God he's out there. Oof. Thank God we have a person like that in this country. And I maybe at the end of the day, to answer your question on why I did this, it was partly because of when I met Bryce Brown, I knew I had to do this.
Can you take me back to that meeting? Because I can't imagine meeting him for the first time with this almost in mind, and then seeing, oh my God, this guy he's a character. I mean, he's almost out of Hollywood casting.
He really is. I mean, when you watch the series now and you see how just what he's like on camera, so eloquent and so thoughtful, and he never says too much. You think that there's a teleprompter that he's reading from, right? He's that remarkable of a person. But the first meeting was no different. And COVID was really going strong at the time. They didn't know if they were going to have a season when I was in that meeting with them. That hadn't been figured out yet, and it was a shortened season, and they didn't have people at the games for the first few games. But so when I met with him, it was him and the principal and the athletic director. And when I had been here in 2010 time, it was Coach DeLuke who was the coach. And so that's what I knew of Carr. Bryce had just joined on as an assistant coach at the time. And so I didn't know much about him. It came from a recommendation of Juan Kincaid, who said I had to meet this guy. And so, right off the bat, as soon as we started talking, you could just tell, there was no BS with him.
Yeah.
And there was so much going on at the time with COVID. And what concerned him was that these kids were all out of school and that there was no one supervising them. And it wasn't about COVID, right? Which is just what I was hearing every day of how this was going to kill people. It was about something so much deeper for him. And he told me that he was making 250 peanut butter and jellies a day for the kids at school, which also blew me away. And because I was also, coming onto this, seeing that they had just won 4 straight state championships in a row. And so whatever this guy was doing, it was something special and different. And so it was a nice meeting. I mean, I think walking in there as a white guy and they don't know me, they're a little hesitant at first, and they did stay that way for a while. But he's a beautiful person, and he told me at the end of the talk that if we did this together, I would eventually see that this had nothing to do with football, which always stuck with me. And it was probably 6 months before then we did start filming. We filmed the whole first season. That's episode 1 of their 2020 run for a 5th straight that they ended up losing in the final quarter of that Karen Crow game, which was a devastating loss, but also beautiful because I think with these losses you see the real human side of people, and I thought the way that they handled that loss there, I was still getting to know them at the time. That for me was the ultimate. That was the deciding factor. Like, this is an amazing person, and I need to stay with this guy because of the way they handled that loss.
Yeah. And Norm Randall is another guy that is down at LSU football camp. And if you cover LSU sports like I do, I mean, you see him a lot. I mean, and he shows up with a pack of kids from New Orleans, and the respect he has walking around the field, you can see that playing through the documentary. When did you realize how good Aaron Anderson was?
Oh, man. I mean, yeah. It was funny because actually Destin Hill was the senior at the time. And Aaron was a junior. And so Destin is just as talented as Aaron. And so I gravitated towards Destin because he's a really fun kid as well. But because, he didn't have much time left, it took me a few games, and then people were kind of like, I'd see Aaron just run back 3 touchdowns in a game. It's like, who the hell is this guy? Wow. But one of the most fun parts of this job was just getting to watch Aaron over these 2 years. Every single time he'd get the ball, there was a good chance he was going to score, and he did. And I mean, it's almost like out of a movie when you see these highlights. It's just, It's unbelievable what that kid is able to do. I mean, honestly, it's the most talented football player I've ever seen. Wow. I'm excited for LSU. I can't believe they got him.
Go ahead. I didn't mean to cut you off.
Well, you were speaking about Norman Randall.
Yeah.
Who's a very dear friend of mine now. I literally just ran into his wife on the highway on I-10 coming back from Algiers yesterday, and she said they're waiting till Friday to watch the final episode when he gets back from Vegas, because what a lot of people don't know is that most of these coaches have full-time jobs outside of football, and they are basically volunteering as assistant coaches on the team. Wow. So Norm has a full-time job in tech, and after the first 2 episodes aired, he went into work the next day, and he got a standing ovation at work.
Wow.
Which was just, man, I mean, it just feels all worth it when you hear that kind of stuff.
That's unbelievable.
Yeah.
Tonka's uncle is in our chat right now. Duran Traw says, Tonka George is my nephew, and Rona is his mom, is my older sister. How much did that mean to the documentary? And obviously the number 5, what it means. I mean, it starts in park ball now in Algiers.
Yeah, look, Tonka was just a huge part of this community. I mean, I will say, Bryce's, since he started coaching, 7 players on the team have been murdered.
Wow.
And so every one of them is just as important as the other. But Tonka was a real pillar in the community, And you hear his name being talked about everywhere you go. From the minute I arrived in Algiers, people were talking about Tonka, that he just had that presence and he was that freakish of an athlete. When you watch the highlights of him and the way he'd scramble, sideways, waiting for someone to open up, right? And he scrambled for 30 seconds. Yeah. It's to kind of, I think they I was at that championship game when they lost to Franklinton in overtime. I was there covering it for WWL. And that was a big moment for Carr, really put him on the map. And they give a lot of credit to him for that. But look, his mother, Miss Rhonda, I'm very close with. She's a wonderful woman. And then his sister, Miss Tiffany, and his brother-in-law, Coach Buddha, who then we followed on the park ball team. Some of these things you wonder if they're divine intervention or what, because I was just going down there to shoot some sunset shots of the bridge, and these kids were playing football on the field there at McDonough Park.
Wow. And
I asked if I could just get some footage of them, and it ended up being Buddha. And it ended up being the field that Tonka grew up on when he was a kid playing at McDonough Park.
Holy cow.
And so we made that a part of the story that was never planned, and I think it's one of the most romantic parts of the story. And it's beautiful because what I wanted people to see is that all these kids you're watching that are 17 and 18 were these kids just a few years earlier. And if we don't do something, these kids are going through the same circumstances and will be facing the same hardships if we don't wake up here and do a little better as a whole.
No, man. My favorite, one of my favorite parts of the whole series is graduation. I mean, and what it just like the message that it's sending to the families and breaking the cycle and getting out and just having an opportunity to further education in life. It's so strong of a message within a fantastic story.
Yeah, thanks, Jordy. I totally agree with you. People have asked me a lot, what moments from this series or from this time with this community stand out to me, and that's up there as a top 3. Because also where I grew up, we just didn't celebrate graduation like that.
That's right.
Right.
That's right.
It's a different thing, and the way they do the rock, which is that the band and the sway that they do before the football games, and the whole class does it, and just the real raw emotion in the kids and the coaches and parents. Like, this is a huge accomplishment. And you understand why when you watch the series of what they're all up against and going through. And so, yes, they're going to celebrate it harder than anyone else in the country, and they should. And it's palpable when you're there. It's something I think if you're just a random person and you didn't go to Carr, try and go to a Carr graduation, because it is something special. They just had another one 2 days ago, and it was really just the same.
A relative of yours, I believe Benton Williams, has a great question inside of the chat. Says, how did the students react to the cameras, and how have they dealt with the show since airing? How have the pros and cons of that kind of played out?
Oh, Benton, what's up, my man? I love this. This is so great, man. So the kids, what I tell people is that they treated me like the FBI for I don't know,
no doubt,
6 months to a year. I shit you not, it was a long time.
A lot of whispering. There he is.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. 100%. Yeah. I mean, when I talk to them now, or even in the final episodes of the series, the way you see them on camera, they really finally opened up and they got comfortable with me and our team, and you really see this wonderful side of all of them. But at first, it was nothing but whispers and quick mumbles of answers and stuff, and that took a while. And I understood that. I respected it. And I hadn't spent much time around teenagers, honestly, in a while. So they are all fantastic kids. And now that's the most fun part of this, and why I wanted to do this, because I spent so much of my career doing stories on people that I wasn't around afterwards. I didn't live in the same place as them. And so to go through this now with these kids, and they're on national television and being celebrated, and they look cool. It's like,
right.
It's pretty.
Now
awesome,
we love you.
man.
Right.
Yeah.
Somebody text Jackson.
Where's Jackson at? Where's the camera?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's been a wonderful, wonderful part of this. They'll be friends for life. I mean, you guys just got Tai-Chi Hill.
Yeah.
And, I mean, that's like a little brother to me, even though he's, 150 pounds more than me. But I love that kid. I love all these kids, and I'm so happy for them.
You talk about an old...
Thanks, Benton, for the question.
You talk about an old soul, Tai-Chi. Man, that was one thing that I learned
He really
about
is.
him. He's phenomenal.
He really is, man. Yeah, that's well said. He is.
Jackson, I was moved to tears. I was laughing. I experienced incredible emotion. I watched it with my son. It is a fantastic piece of work. Fantastic.
Yeah, thanks for saying that, Jordy. I hope little kids all around the country watch this. I really hope they do. I hope everyone watches it.
What's next?
Next is another season of this.
Oh, let's
really?
go.
Nice.
I don't have pen to paper yet.
Yeah.
But I never stopped filming. It's just one of those experiences that you can't really give it up. And so I followed them for the whole next football season. I followed AJ, the quarterback, for his senior year. And I stayed with Tai-Chi and Aaron and Jawin, checking in on them. Kind of trying to keep this going a little bit like The Wire, where the show on HBO, where you're staying in a community with these people, but then you're adding new elements to it and just continuing the story rather than telling a whole new one. So we're now highlighting the Landry Band in Algiers.
Oh, wow.
Which is the rival high school in Algiers. There's 2 high schools in Algiers.
That's right.
And so Wilbur Rollins is the band director there. He's a remarkable person as well. And so it's been a nice element to add into this story that keeps it in this neighborhood, which fits the title so well then, and brings in the element of music, which is helping kids as well in a whole different way.
When you were accompanying Bryce Brown to drop off Aaron Anderson at Alabama, did you think in that moment that he would not be able to make it, or just kind of yearn for home? I always, in getting to know him in this series, I thought it made perfect sense for him to be back home. He's a South Louisiana kid.
Yeah, I mean, so Aaron grew up his whole life dreaming of going to LSU, and I think, deep down he probably did want to play at LSU, but when the coaches all got mixed up there, that's when everything changed for him. And look, when you've got Nick Saban, asking you to come to Alabama, how could you not?
Sure.
How could you not do that? Especially when you don't know really who the coach is going to be at LSU. So, it was tough because I was so excited for him, and I know Bryce was, and he knew he'd be in great hands at Alabama with Saban and that whole staff there. But it was Aaron's decision, and Bryce and him had that agreement that after 1 year, if you weren't happy here, then it was up to Aaron what he wanted to do. Yeah. So I don't know. I saw him a few weeks ago, and he's got a big smile on his face right now. And man, I'm just so excited for LSU. I'm excited for the country to see him because, I mean, I've seen him enough to tell you all that this is going to be the next Tyreek Hill in the NFL. No question about it.
Yeah, he's a freak, and when he touches the football, it's
game on,
electric. Incredible, man. Thank you for your time this morning. I cannot wait to watch the extended cuts and whatever comes out next, because you're an artist, man. That was beautiful, beautiful work. Thank you again for your time.
Jordy, thanks so much for having me on, and big shout out to my father-in-law, Remy Williams. I love you, one of my favorite people in the world in Baton Rouge.
Hell yeah. Later, man. Thank you.
See you.
Remy Williams, who he's talking about, Jackson is talking about, is as good as you'll find as well. His wife, Jackson's wife, and I went to grade school together. Victoria Williams, and as he said, they moved across the country. They got pregnant. She got diagnosed with cancer. They moved home, and he is a just very elite, talented storyteller. And if you have not seen the production,
cool.
I'm telling you, it is moving, man. I sat down with my son, and I almost had to talk him into watching it. And within the first 3 minutes of it, I mean, when's the next episode coming out? It's as good a television as you can find, and it's happening, an hour from this door. thank you for everybody today for being involved. Have a great Thursday. We should have some good content coming to you today. We'll sit down with Brian Kelly. Looking forward to that conversation this morning over at LSU Football Ops. As soon as we do a little post-production magic to it, we'll have it for you.
We'll send it to Jackson
to take in. Yeah, for sure. And as always, thanks to Chris Blair on Thursdays. Thanks to Jackson Fager for stopping by here, the director of Algiers America, and for all of you for being out there on this Thursday. Hit that like, share, comment. Have a beautiful day. We'll be back with you tomorrow morning at 7 a.m.
And quick update, Destin Hill, the receiver that he mentioned, has been added to the Florida State student directory. So he'll be able to play football, I would imagine, is the next step for him. So that's awesome.